1st, which is crazy. We're already 3 months into the new year of 2023, which maybe isn't a new year anymore, but the year of 2023. And in those 3 months of 2023, we have seen a lot happen, particularly from House Republicans. Just yesterday, we saw Matt Gaetz spew Chinese propaganda during a committee hearing, which a witness had to call him out for doing. We are seeing Jim Jordan launch investigations into people like Pete Buttigieg and Hunter Biden. Meanwhile, Democrats, even though the chances of anything passing in the House is slim, they're still forging ahead and introducing legislation that would benefit the American people. Today, I'll be talking to one of those Democrats who is on the front lines of combating Republican nonsense in the House and who is hard at work with legislation that actually helps Americans. And he will be Representative Dan Goldman, who I'm sure all of you remember as the lead House impeachment manager, not impeachment manager, sorry, the lead prosecutor for the House during Trump's first impeachment, and is now obviously a representative. He went on to become an MSNBC legal analyst, so it should be a very exciting episode. But he will be joining me in about 5 to 7 minutes. I got word from his team that he is right now going through votes, and he got added to a couple of amendments that he has to vote on. So he is doing the job of, a representative, and these things can happen. So we're going to wait about 5 to 7 minutes before Representative Goldman comes on. But I want to talk about some of the things that we're seeing in the news. The first piece of news that I have for all of you is that yesterday, President Biden nominated Julie Su, who is currently the Deputy Labor Secretary, to replace Marty Walsh, who was the outgoing Labor Secretary. Now, if Julie Su gets confirmed, she would be the first Asian American cabinet member of President Biden's cabinet, which is extraordinary. This is an administration that has really put diversity and representation at the forefront of the work that they do. I remember when I was just an intern at the White House, one of the key kind of phrases that the Presidential Personnel's Office used, which is called PPO, that's the office that is in charge of all of the hirings and all of the personnel decisions. And one of the things that they really emphasize is that people are policy. When you have diverse people, diverse backgrounds at the table making policy, that's what actually really matters. And you have, someone like Julie Su, who is very, very experienced, was an attorney, served in California, was the Deputy Labor Secretary. And if she's confirmed by the Senate, which I really think that she will be, considering, we also have the majority in the Senate, but when she's confirmed, she would be the first Asian American to serve in President Biden's cabinet. Now, there was also Elaine Chao, who was the first Asian American to ever serve as a cabinet member, but with Julie Su, she would at least be the first Asian American in President Biden's cabinet, which is extremely powerful and I think very symbolic and very needed for the AAPI community. So all of our well wishes are with her to get confirmed, because we definitely need her to lead the labor secretary. But one other thing, or a couple other things, there was a really interesting piece in Axios about friendship and how President Jimmy Carter and President Biden built their friendship and how they're still friends to this day. So in that piece, they were saying that in 1976, which is quite a long time ago. But Jimmy Carter really got his first endorsement from then Senator Joe Biden when he was 33 years old. And, these were two people who kind of saw, at least according to the article, saw kind of a mirror reflection in each other. They saw that they both maintained this commitment to public service. They both just wanted to help people. And President Biden saw that, and he endorsed Jimmy Carter in 1976. And since then, they've maintained a decades-long friendship, and they've bonded over ways apparently, quote, underestimated. They weren't just friends in DC, they were friends outside of DC. They worked on a bunch of different projects together. And then in 2020, President Jimmy Carter called President Biden his first and most effective supporter in the Senate, my loyal and dedicated friend. And it was one of those moments where, it was just really heartening to see just a friendship that has endured that long. It reminds me of the Bob Woodward, Carl Bernstein friendship, where they have been together since their days reporting in Watergate. So it's comforting knowing that a friendship can last that long. And for any of you watching, let me know, maybe some of your long enduring friendships. I haven't been on this earth long enough to have anything last more than about 10 years, but I think back to some of my friendships, and it's really just kind of one of the joys of my life. So I'm glad that President Biden and Jimmy Carter can hit that off. Yesterday, we saw Marjorie Taylor Greene go to new lows. And it was really concerning because Gabe Sterling, who is the COO of the Secretary of State's office in Georgia, who I think we can all remember went out after the 2020 election, called out Trump for his nonsense and the threat to election workers across the country. But Gabe Sterling went to DC yesterday. He's a part of this election commission that is trying to make voting not only more accessible, but also more safe. So he was at the Capitol yesterday in DC, and Marjorie Taylor Greene was sitting right next to him. And it was honestly one of the most revolting things I've seen from Marjorie Taylor Greene. Everything she says is pretty much revolting. But yesterday, she was literally confronting Gabe Sterling in person, saying that the election was stolen. We both know that Trump won the 2020 election. I know you are a fraud. You don't represent Georgians well. This is someone who's a Republican. I think he has served Georgia well. I think he has called out Trump when he needs to. Is he the ideal person to be the CEO? Probably not, but he is someone who has integrity. He's someone who wants to see democracy survive. And to see Marjorie Taylor Greene do that to Gabe Sterling was one of the worst images I've seen. This is someone who doesn't care about democracy. And honestly, as I was watching that clip, I urge all of you to watch that. I posted it on my Twitter timeline. I urge all of you to watch it because you can't help but think this person is truly idiotic and stupid. It's not even that she, I think she believes in what she's saying. It's because of that I think that she's actually stupid. The courts have proven her wrong. Gabe Sterling has proven her wrong. President Biden got more votes in Georgia than President Trump. This is someone who, if she's believing what she's saying, you can't help but come to the conclusion that she is actually stupid. And it's just an embarrassment. She is a humiliation on the House. She is literally trying to destroy democracy. And it was one of those moments where you have to wonder, truly, I mean, what will it take to get this woman out of office? Because the longer that she's there, the more chaos she sows, the more nonsense she spews. And sadly, but those who follow her believe it. This is someone who, she spews nonsense. She spews all these conspiracy theories, and her supporters believe that. You think of that moment when she was in Idaho and she asked a bunch of people whether or not they think that Mitch McConnell is a real Republican or is a Democrat. And all of them raised their hands saying that they think that Mitch McConnell, out of all people, is a Democrat. So, it was one of those moments where Marjorie Taylor Greene truly is unbecoming of being a U.S. representative. There's also one other thing yesterday in the House that we're going to talk to with our guest today, which is Matt Gaetz. He was sitting, asking questions during the House Oversight Committee, and one of the things that he said was, he promoted this Chinese propaganda basically from this very far right news outlet, and the witness literally had to call him out for spewing Chinese propaganda. The quote from the witness is, "As a general matter, I don't take Beijing's propaganda at face value." And it's one of those moments again where this is 2023. We're living in a moment where you have sitting representatives in Congress who are spewing literal Chinese propaganda to witnesses, and witnesses have to call them out for it. This isn't normal. This isn't normal by any means. And today we're going to talk to our guest about this, about why Republicans continue spewing this nonsense and what Democrats can do to push back against this. Because on every level, it's so concerning that we have sitting members of Congress who are so willing to go to these lows and literally kind of spread fake news as we know it. And so it's concerning for me. I think it should be concerning for all of us. On the other hand, yesterday during committee hearings, we saw Jamie Raskin literally destroy Lauren Boebert. Lauren Boebert was trying to promote this false conspiracy about what happened in the Chinese Wuhan, territory with the Chinese virus, with the COVID virus. And Jamie Raskin pushed back with just the facts. He claimed his time. He called out Lauren Boebert's absurdities. And the best part about it was that he was so calm. It was kind of the classic professorial Jamie Raskin, law school professorial Jamie Raskin, really pushing back against Lauren Boebert and kind of bringing Lauren Boebert, to home and really showing Lauren Boebert just how absurd her claims about the election are. And it was another reminder to me, at least, about why we must elect Adam Frisch to the House come 2024. This is someone who can actually beat Lauren Boebert, one of the few competitive districts in our nation that has a chance of defeating a far right representative like Lauren Boebert. So, last time he lost by barely 500 votes. This time, I'm confident if we can all put in the work, make phone calls, volunteer, that's what it'll take to actually get Lauren Boebert out of office. And I think it's one of those races where, unlike maybe Marjorie Taylor Greene, although maybe we can get people to wake up to what Marjorie Taylor Greene is doing, but unlike Marjorie Taylor Greene, that's a race that can actually be won. And we have a great chance of defeating someone as extreme and as far right as Lauren Boebert. One other piece of news that I thought was really comforting this morning is, as we all know, as a part of President Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, he lowered the cost of insulin, or he capped the cost of insulin to $35. And this morning, Lily Adams has now officially lowered the cost, Ellie Lilly has agreed to lower the cost of insulin and cap the cost of insulin at $35, which is dropping the price by 70%, which is quite extraordinary. This is because of President Biden's Inflation Reduction Act. And I think another just really extraordinary accomplishment from this administration, just helping the American people, doing the work, delivering for the American people. And this is just standing in stark contrast to what Republicans are trying to do. Yesterday, one of the just truly absurd things was they revealed their new plan, their new budget plan. And so far, this is what they want to do. They want to cut $2 trillion in Medicaid. They want to cut $600 billion in the Affordable Care Act, $400 billion to food stamps, and they're having Head Start programs. And the reason why they're doing this is because they think that these programs are woke. They think that these programs won't help the American people, but in reality, these are programs that people rely on. When you think of Medicaid, Social Security, Medicaid, when you think of these are the things that people actually earn, and this is what Republicans want to cut. Meanwhile, you have Democrats, and the contrast is pretty clear, who are moving forward and actually helping the American people, cutting inflation, really making sure that insulin prices are lowered. These are things that will actually help the American people, whereas the Republican Party literally wants to make American lives more dangerous, worse, and it's just a really sad thing. And I hope, and I'm curious to hear all of your thoughts. What is the right messaging that we can do to reach people who might be uninterested, for people who might not be paying attention? How can we get people to wake up to this reality? Because right now, for people who are engaged in politics, for people who are in tune for politics, we can understand that this is the contrast that we're seeing. We're seeing a Republican Party that doesn't care about people versus a Democratic Party that does. But how can we reach people who are out there who might not be paying attention? How can we make it clear that the Republican Party doesn't stand for anything except for trying to launch these investigations and trying to make lives worse? I mean, some of the things that I just read, it's like these are the things that they are trying to do, and it's literally making lives worse as we talk. So it's one of those things where I really hope that we can reach people who are uninterested in politics, who may not be interested in politics, because the last thing that we want is for people to tap out of politics, for people to think that what's happening is so miserable that they don't go out to vote. But we need people to stay engaged. We need people to stay involved and not tap out. I'm told that our guest, Dan Goldman, should be here any minute by this point. He is voting again on some amendments in the House. There are some delays, which is what happens in the House. Sometimes they add things last minute to the schedule, but we have a really interesting and hopefully fun conversation about what Republicans are doing, some of the Republican circus that's happening right now. Kevin McCarthy and also other members and other far right members in relation with Fox News. We're also going to talk about his new bill that would expand voting rights nationwide, which is good news as voting rights are under attack, and some of the other things that we're seeing from this Republican House. So it'll be a fun conversation. As I was preparing for this, one of the things I also saw was the FBI director, Chris Wray, yesterday was doing an interview with Fox News. This comes, again, after Fox News was reported to spread conspiracy theories about the election. You had people like Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, who all spewed election lies. And they all basically, especially Rupert Murdoch, he knew that these people were spreading election lies, yet he allowed them to do so. And the director of the FBI, this is an agency that prides itself in independence and also prides itself in being the voice of reason, was doing an interview with that network. And it's just... for the FBI to engage in that, I really think that it takes for Democrats, for people who believe in democracy, for people who believe in facts. I think, Fox News stands in contrast with all of that. They do have hardworking, responsible journalists. But like I said yesterday, this is kind of what we saw during the Trump administration, where you had Trump as the leader of obviously the administration, and you had people who were, I think, responsible public servants, but no matter what they did, they were tainted by someone who just didn't believe in the same things that they believed in. You had someone who wanted to destroy institutions. You had someone who wanted to destroy democracy. No matter how much the lower level staffers believed in the possibility of doing good, the person at the top, if that person isn't committed to doing the same, you're not going to see the results that you want. And same thing with Fox News. You have people who I think are responsible journalists who are trying to do the work of doing ethical journalism. But when you have people like Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, and Rupert Murdoch trying to undermine you, no matter how hard you work, your work is going to be tainted by those people. And so I think we're seeing the contrast right now with with President Biden, someone who believes in democracy. He has both lower level staffers and senior level staffers, as well as President Biden. They all believe in the fundamental idea of democracy, and I think that's why we're seeing this. And so, it's just really embarrassing for the network. I hope that the network learns its lesson, although I'm not quite sure it will. But, this is $1.6 billion that they're, trying to, that Dominion is trying to get. And so it's a really interesting time, and hopefully Fox News can learn. We're going to give it a few more minutes because I don't want to keep all of you too long. Representative Goldman's office is telling me that it should take about 5 minutes for him to come here. There's some delays. And so we're responding in real time to Representative Goldman's office, but hopefully he should be here. This is, again, what happens, I guess, in the House on a busy day with Republicans trying to literally destroy democracy, but they're voting on amendments, and Representative Goldman is voting on a few amendments. I'm just going to quickly communicate to his office that we will be on for a few more minutes. Would it be better to push it to next week? Okay. Just wanted to confirm with his office, but we're getting hopefully some. Hopefully he will be on any moment, and if not, we will definitely let you all go. Just as a quick programming note for this show, for the rest of this week, tomorrow we're going to have on Representative Adam Schiff, who I'm sure all of you know. He is a really amazing representative. He's running for the U.S. Senate in California. And he is a really I think, a strong candidate. It's an exciting race. It's an exciting race, and Adam Schiff will be joining me tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 8 a.m. Pacific Time. Next week, and on Friday, we're going to bring on Simon Rosenberg, who is a really amazing Democratic consultant. He is a pollster. He got it right in 2022 when few other people did. So Simon Rosenberg will be joining me on Friday, but tomorrow will be an exciting episode with Adam Schiff. You don't want to miss that. That's at 8 a.m. Pacific Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, right here on youtube.com/Politicon. I guess we're going to have on Representative Goldman next week, so we don't rush this episode. It might take a while for me to ask him all the questions that we have. So join us tomorrow for another episode of On the Move. Sorry we couldn't get you Representative Goldman today, but I promise we will get him on next week to talk about the Republican circus, what he's doing in the House to make things better. And so join us next week for Representative Goldman's episode. But in the meantime, join us tomorrow for Adam Schiff. It'll be an exciting episode. I thank all of you for watching this episode of On the Move, and I will see you all tomorrow. Have a great rest of your Wednesday.